She had just lost her third consecutive first-round exit at the French Open. The clay of Roland Garros had swallowed her whole, a 6-4, 6-2 defeat to a close friend, and as she walked off that court with her head down, the tennis world didn't even bother to whisper anymore. They said it out loud. She's peaked. She's done. She was never really that good to begin with. And then, for days later, Alex Eala walked into a quiet press room in Birmingham, England, picked up a microphone, and said something that nobody in that room expected to hear. Something that stopped the entire tennis world mid-sentence. But here's what you need to understand before we get to that moment. Because the press conference wasn't the beginning of this story. The beginning was much darker than that. It was May of 2026, and Alex Eala, 21 years old, ranked 37th in the world, the first Filipino woman to ever crack the WTA top 50, was sitting on a flight from Mallorca with her phone face down on the tray table. She already knew what the notifications said. She didn't need to read them. 3 years of grinding, 3 years of early mornings and red-eye flights and press junkets in languages she barely spoke, 3 years of carrying the weight of an entire nation's hope on her racket arm, and she kept losing in the first round of clay court majors. The critics had found their angle. And they were not letting it go. What nobody knew at that moment, not the journalists, not the fans, not the odds makers, was that something had shifted inside her on that flight. Something quiet and irreversible. She had made a decision. Not about her ranking. Not about her schedule. About something far more fundamental than either of those things. And 2 days later, the world would find out exactly what that decision was. Birmingham, England. The Edgbaston Priory Club. May 30th, 2026. The press conference was supposed to be completely routine. A few journalists, a few cameras, a wild card entry doing her pre-tournament media obligations. Gratitude for the invite, optimism about the grass season, the standard promises to work harder. Nobody had come expecting a story. But that's the thing about moments that change everything. They never announce themselves in advance. Alex Eala walked into that room with something different on her face. Her coaches stood against the back wall with their arms crossed and their expressions completely unreadable. Her mother Reza sat in the far corner, still and quiet. The first 3 questions were exactly what everyone expected. How do you feel after Paris? What are your goals for the grass season? How do you reflect on the clay campaign? Eala answered each one with grace and precision. The privilege of representing the Philippines, the lessons learned, the fight she brought even in defeat. And then a reporter from a major British outlet raised his hand. "Alex," he said, "some are saying you've plateaued. That the clay season revealed your ceiling. What would you say to those critics?" The room leaned in. Eala looked down at her hands. The silence stretched. And when she finally looked up, she looked directly into the camera. Not at the reporter, not at the room, directly into the lens. And she said, "I'm not the same player who left Paris. I've learned. I've grown. And I'm ready." No one moved. The clay season was hard. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. But hard doesn't mean failure. Hard means growth. Hard means I know exactly what I need to fix. She leaned forward slightly. The grass suits my game. It always has. Faster points, shorter rallies, more opportunities to attack. I'm not just coming to Birmingham to compete. I'm coming to win. The journalists started writing faster. I know there are doubters. I know there are people who think I've already hit my ceiling. But they don't know me. They don't know the work I've put in. They don't know the sacrifices my family has made. So here's my announcement. She paused. Just long enough. I'm not just playing the Birmingham Open. I'm playing to win it. And I'm playing to send a message. The Eala effect is not over. It's just getting started. She stood up, nodded once to the room, and walked out. The press conference had lasted less than 10 minutes. The clip was viewed 20 million times in 24 hours. The hashtag EalaReady was trending worldwide by midnight. And the tennis world, the same tennis world that had spent the previous week writing her obituary, suddenly found itself holding its breath. But here's what that viral clip didn't show. What happened at 6 o'clock the next morning would tell you far more about who Alex Eala actually is than any press conference ever could. The grass at Edgbaston Priory was still wet with dew when she stepped onto the practice court. The air was cool, sharp, almost cold. Her racket had already seen dozens of balls. Her shirt was already soaked through. Her coaches Joan Bosch and Luc Bauza stood at the baseline feeding her balls, correcting her footwork, saying absolutely nothing about the press conference that the rest of the world was still dissecting. They didn't need to. The clip had hit 30 million views overnight. The hashtag was still trending. The critics were already lining up to predict her failure. Eala wasn't listening to any of it. Again, Bosch said. She stepped in and ripped a forehand down the line. The ball landed flush on the baseline, skidded low, barely bounced on the slick grass. Her coach nodded. She had hit that exact shot probably 100 times that morning already. But this one felt different. This one had a weight behind it that the other 99 hadn't. The session lasted 3 hours. By the end, her legs were heavy and her arms were tired, but her mind was the clearest it had been in months. She had not checked her phone once. She had not read the comments. She had not let the noise in. She had simply worked, because that was the promise she had made, not to the world, not to the press, not to the 20 million people who had watched the clip. To herself. Later that morning, she sat down with a Philippine journalist for a brief interview. Her eyes were still tired. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I meant what I said," she told him. "I'm not the same player who left Paris." "What's different?" he asked. She thought about it for a moment. Then, "My mindset. I used to play not to lose. Now I'm playing to win. On clay you can survive. On grass you have to attack. You have to trust your shots. You have to believe that you belong. And do you believe that?" She smiled. "I really do." That evening, she posted a single photo on Instagram. It wasn't a celebration. It wasn't a motivational quote. It was a photo of her practice shoes, beaten, scuffed, the soles worn almost completely smooth. The caption read, "These shoes have carried me through more losses than I can count. They've carried me through victories too. But mostly, they've carried me through the work. The work that no one sees. The work that never makes the highlights. The work that happens when the cameras are off and the stadiums are empty. That's where champions are made. Not on the scoreboard. In the silence. Laban always." It was liked 10 million times in 24 hours. Coco Gauff commented, "This right here. This is why you're different." Naomi Osaka added, "The work never lies. Keep going." IGA Swiatek, world number 2, posted a single word, respect. The Birmingham Open would begin in 2 days. And the story was just getting started. June 2, 2026. Center Court. Edgbaston Priory Club. 1 p.m. Her first-round opponent was a qualifier from the Czech Republic, ranked 112th in the world. On paper, this was supposed to be manageable. On grass, with a player who had spent all week announcing herself to the world, nothing is ever just manageable. The Philippine flags were everywhere. Not just scattered, everywhere. The stands were draped in red, white, and blue, and the chants of "Laban Alex" were already echoing off the brick walls of the historic club before she even walked onto the court. When she did walk out, her CR7 hoodie replaced by a crisp white Nike kit, the energy in the arena shifted in a way that's almost impossible to describe. You could feel it physically. And then the first game happened, and it was immediately clear that something was very different about this version of Alex Eala. She served an ace, then another, then a service winner. The game was over in under 60 seconds. Her opponent, a solid professional who had prepared intensively for this match, had clearly studied Eala's clay court performances, the long rallies, the defensive retrieving, the patient baseline grinding. She had absolutely not prepared for what she was seeing. A player who attacked the net relentlessly, who sliced and volleyed, who took the ball on the rise and redirected it with surgical precision. A player who looked, from the very first point, like she belonged not just on this court but on any court in the world. Eala broke serve in the second game. The flags went wild. She held to love. Broke again. The first set ended 6-1 in 24 minutes. The second set was more of the same, controlled, aggressive, almost ruthless. 6-2, match over. 52 minutes total. As the crowd rose to its feet, as the flags waved and the chants reached a pitch that made the walls vibrate, Eala raised her racket and pressed her other hand to her heart. Laban. She mouthed it silently to the stands. Boys. The post-match interview was short. You said you were ready, the reporter said. Was that the statement you wanted to make? The statement isn't about the score, she said. It's about the fight. I fought today. I attacked. I believed. That's the difference. The headlines wrote themselves. But what mattered wasn't the scoreline or the hashtag or the 20 million views. What mattered was what was waiting for her in the next round, and the round after that, and whether the player who had just made the entire tennis world pay attention could back up her words when the competition stopped being a qualifier ranked outside the top 100. What happened next answered that question in a way nobody could have predicted. By the time June 4th arrived, word had spread far beyond the usual Birmingham Open audience. The stands that had been modestly filled 2 days earlier were now packed. The Philippine flags that had dotted the modest seats were now a wall of red, white, and blue that stretched from one end of the arena to the other. The chants of Laban Alex no longer echoed. They thundered. Her opponent in the semifinals was the number 2 seed, a veteran grass court specialist. 2 Wimbledon quarterfinal appearances. A player who had never, not once in her career on this surface, lost to anyone ranked outside the world's top 30. The analysts gave Eala little to no chance. The odds makers had her as a clear underdog. The script was already written. It had been written 100 times before in 100 different sports, and it always ended the same way. Alex Eala had apparently not read the script. The first set was something close to a masterclass. She broke early, attacked the net with a confidence that seemed almost reckless, sliced and volleyed and took every ball on the rise. Her opponent, a player who had made a career out of controlling rallies, out of dictating pace and rhythm, suddenly found herself on the wrong end of every exchange. Reacting instead of acting. Scrambling instead of dictating. The set ended 6-3 in 31 minutes, and the look on the veteran's face said more than any statistic could. But here is where the story could have ended differently. Because the second set was not the same story. The veteran raised her level. Significantly. The rallies grew longer and more physical. The tension in the arena became almost unbearable. Point by point, game by game, the second set tightened into something that had the crowd leaning forward and forgetting to breathe. At 4-4, with her opponent serving, Eala earned a break point. A single break point. The kind of moment where seasons are won and lost, where the weight of every decision you've ever made about your career either holds you up or pulls you under. She looked at the stands, at the flags, at her mother Reza sitting in the corner with her hands pressed together, and at the front row, at a little girl named Sophia, who had drawn her a picture and was now waving it above her head with both hands, her face completely lit up. Eala converted. She would serve for the match. And the stadium, there is really no other word for what happened to that stadium in that moment, shook. She stepped to the baseline, bounced the ball once, twice, 3 times. Then she served an ace. 15-love. Another serve, another winner. 30-love. The crowd was completely on its feet, the chants deafening, every flag in the building moving at once. Another serve. Her opponent's return floated long. 40-love. 3 match points. Eala tossed the ball. Swung. The serve landed just wide, not an ace, but it didn't matter, because the return came back weak and short, floating into the middle of the court like an invitation. She stepped in. She crushed a forehand into the open space. She fell to her knees. Racket raised. Tears already coming, not slowly but all at once, like they'd been held back for months and could not wait another second. The flags waved. The chants echoed. And in the stands, her mother Reza wept, not with sadness, but with something that goes so much deeper than relief. She had done it. Alex Eala had reached the final of the Birmingham Open. Her first grass court final in her career. Her first WTA final since Miami in 2025. In the post-match interview, still tearful, she was asked, "Did you ever doubt yourself?" She smiled through the tears. "Every day. But that's okay. Doubt is part of the journey." What matters is that you keep fighting, that you keep believing, that you never stop. And then, before the reporter could ask another question, the final. One more fight. One more chance. And I'm not done fighting. The final was played 2 days later. Her opponent was a former Wimbledon semifinalist, a seasoned, elite grass court player who had beaten some of the best in the world on this exact surface. The match was everything you would want a final to be. 3 sets. Over 2 hours of tennis that left the crowd barely able to breathe. Eala took the first set 6-4. Her opponent leveled it 6-3. And then the third set, a third set that will be talked about in Birmingham for a long time, stretched and tightened and swung in both directions until the very last game. Eala lost. 7-5 in the third. The trophy slipped through her fingers. The opponent raised it above her head. The Birmingham Open had a new champion. And it was not Alex Eala. But here is what happened next. And this is the part of the story that matters more than any scoreline. As Eala walked off the court, racket bag on her shoulder, runner-up trophy beside her, head held high, the crowd did not disperse. They did not politely applaud and start filing out. They stood. Every person in that stadium stood, and they applauded, and they kept applauding, and they did not stop. Not for the winner, who had already walked off. For the fighter. For the 21-year-old from the Philippines who had come into this tournament as a cautionary tale and left it as something else entirely. That night, she posted a photo on Instagram. It was taken on center court just after the match, the runner-up trophy beside her, the Philippine flags still waving in the background, her eyes red but her chin level. The caption read, "I didn't win the trophy. But I won something more important. I proved that I belong. I proved that the Eala effect is not over. It's just getting started. Thank you, Birmingham. Thank you, Philippines. Thank you to everyone who believed. Laban always." 12 million likes in 24 hours. Coco Gauff, proud of you, friend. This is just the beginning. Naomi Osaka, you're a champion in every sense of the word. Cristiano Ronaldo, whose CR7 logo she had worn throughout the entire tournament, posted 2 words, Laban always. The numbers told their own story. Her ranking, projected to rise from 37th to 35th in the world. Her next destination, Wimbledon, where she would compete in the main draw for the very first time in her career. A grass court slam. The biggest stage in the sport. And she would arrive there not as a question mark, not as a cautionary tale, but as a player who had just reached a W to final on grass after being written off by every analyst and critic in the sport, a player who had turned a heartbreaking Roland Garros exit into fuel so powerful it carried her all the way to the final of the next tournament she entered. But more than the rankings, more than Wimbledon, more than the millions of views and the reactions from Gauff and Osaka and Ronaldo, there is a detail from this story that keeps coming back. A detail that tells you something real about what the Eala effect actually is, and why it reaches people the way it does. It's a little girl named Sophia, sitting in the front row of a grass court tennis tournament in Birmingham, England, holding up a drawing she made, a drawing of Alex Eala, with both hands above her head. And the moment before Eala served for the match, she looked at that drawing. She saw that little girl. And she converted the break point. She served for the match. She won it. You can argue about rankings and statistics and whether a runner-up finish at a mid-tier grass court event really means anything in the context of a full season. Those arguments are legitimate. Tennis is a brutal, unforgiving sport, and the margin between a great story and a real legacy is enormous. But you cannot argue about what that moment represented. You cannot argue about what it meant for every young Filipino athlete who watched those flags in Birmingham, who heard those chants, who saw a 21-year-old from their country fall to her knees on a grass court in England with tears streaming down her face, not in defeat, but in the joy of knowing she had fought with everything she had and proven something that no one could take back. Losers don't do that. People who have peaked don't do that. People who are done don't inspire that. Here is the question that lingers after everything settles. When the next generation of Filipino athletes stands on a world stage for the first time, nervous, doubting, carrying the weight of a nation's expectations, what will they remember about Alex Eala? Will they remember her wins? Her titles? Her ranking? Or will they remember a press conference in Birmingham where she looked directly into a camera and said, "I'm not the same player who left Paris," and then went out and proved it? Will they remember a pair of beaten, worn-out practice shoes and the caption that said champions are made in the silence, in the work that no one sees? Will they remember a little girl named Sophia holding up a drawing in the front row? The Eala effect was never really about winning. It was never about trophies or rankings or viral hashtags. It was about something that is genuinely rare in professional sports: the willingness to be fully, completely, uncomplicatedly honest about failure, and then to stand back up anyway. Not because the cameras are watching, because the work demands it, because the girl in the front row is watching, because the version of yourself you promised to become is still waiting on the other side of the fear. She didn't win the Birmingham Open. She won something harder to measure and impossible to take away. The tennis world wrote her off after Paris. And she responded by reaching a final on the very next surface she played on, by becoming the story of an entire tournament, by turning a runner-up trophy into something that felt, to millions of people watching, like a victory more complete than any scoreline could contain. The grass season is not over. Wimbledon is coming. And Alex Eala is not done. She said it herself in that quiet press room, and she proved it on the grass, and she'll say it again wherever the next court takes her. The Eala effect is not about how the story ends. It's about the fact that she keeps showing up to write the next chapter. That she keeps choosing the fight over the comfort of giving up. That she keeps believing, loudly, stubbornly, publicly, that belonging is not something you're given. It's something you earn, one break point at a time, one worn-out pair of practice shoes at a time, one small girl's drawing at a time.